Okay, welcome to the Board of Park Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, December 3rd. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cappers?
Here.
Mr. Emmerich?
Here.
Mrs. Westphal? Here.
That was a here from her. We have our minutes of our November 5th meeting before us. Do we have any additions, corrections, or the deletions of those minutes? Hearing nothing, I'll hear a motion to accept those minutes.
I'll make a motion to accept.
She seconded it.
Yes.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
They stand accepted. Thank you very much. Okay, reports. Mr. Drake, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Do you have anything to add to your report?
Don't have anything to add to what I already submitted. I will say we've been in some contact with the Senior Citizen Center. They had $15,000 that was left in a will for the center for improvements inside, specifically in the kitchen. So I've met with the facilities chair and the director, and we're going to go in this winter, starting in January, and paint the interior of the center and do some improvements with our park staff to the kitchen area with cabinets and new appliances and so forth, all with donated funds. So I don't know if Mrs. Knight's going to be here. I don't know if we need to, if you think we need to take action on that, to accept that. It's all going through the center. No money's coming through the city at all. Our staff's going to be obviously helping to do the work, but all the monies are being handled through the facilities committee.
Do you know which estate it came from?
I don't. I do not.
Mrs. Knight, do you know information about the gift to the Senior Citizen Center for food equipment?
No, sir, I'm sorry, I do not.
Okay.
Okay. But anyway, I just wanted
I don't
to
think
make
we
you
need to take any
aware of
action
that,
on it
and
since he's
I
not
thought that
coming
was
for
really nice, and they're putting together a really nice plan. They've got a strategic committee in place now for a 1, 5, and 10-year plan that they're working on. So some really cool things that are happening with our senior center.
Good, great. Thank you. Anything else?
That's it.
Any questions of Mr. Drake? Thank you. Mr. Seiler, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Do you have anything to add to your report?
Nothing other than just obviously the month of December is usually a very busy month for us when it comes to hockey and ice skating, and we have a lot of extra sessions during the holiday break for families to come out and ice skate during our public skating session. So we've got a couple hockey tournaments going on, and so we're really kind of focused on ice at this point. We do have one concert, which is next Friday evening, December the 13th, but beyond that, we're kind of focused on ice right now, and you know, it's kind of that time of the year. So outside of that, that's really about it, and we're preparing for kind of our event load that'll start after the first of the year.
It's the home of a lot of walkers also.
Yes, it is.
I,
We have
been
about
availing
200
myself
people
of
that
that.
walk in there, 200, 250 people that walk in there a day
Yeah,
during the winter months.
and it's 11 laps a mile, if I recall correctly.
It is 8 laps.
8 laps. Hey, I've been walking farther than I thought.
That's good.
Bill,
Better than thinking it was 5 laps.
Bill Engvall on March 1st. I would imagine that's going to be a pretty good concert.
That's been selling pretty well. It just went on sale about a week and a half ago. Selling well. I think there's 800 or 900 tickets already sold for it.
That's great.
Yeah.
How are the acoustics going to be for a comedian? I know for bands, they
We've had a couple comedians to this point. They've really done. I mean, the acoustics for it have been pretty good.
Great.
Yeah.
That's super. Any questions of Mr. Seiler? Okay, Daddy. Kyler, welcome. Congratulations on the birth of your new child.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Do you have anything to add to your report?
No, nothing to add.
Okay.
As they ramp up over at Hobart, we ramp down a little bit. So this is sort of our time of year that gets a little less busy, obviously.
Well, while you and Ken are both here, I want to go ahead and urge the both of you to try to avail yourself of the shoreline for maybe winter activities or banquets or something, and see if we can get that to be a moneymaker. That would
Yes.
be nice. Okay, Planning Commission report, I really don't have any. The last meeting, we went ahead and approved fees in lieu for Villages of Concord. Villages of Concord subdivision plan was approved at the last Planning Commission meeting, subject to a couple of conditions. So nothing else to report there, nothing new happening in that regard. Review and consideration of approval of golf fees is the next item on the agenda. Do you want to go ahead and speak to that, Tyler?
Sure. So included in your packet was a page that just outlines the proposed changes for 2020. There really is nothing major in there. Some of it is just kind of cleaning up some things that have been in there that needed clarification or really don't come into play. I don't know if any of you had any specific questions about those proposed changes, but I just included, what the pages from last year, from 2019, and then what it would look like here in 2020. But if you want to just kind of review those changes, none of them, one of them is simply eliminating a locker fee since the new building does not have lockers. Another one is just changing a notation under memberships, just to clarify some language on the memberships, just particularly that cart fees are not included as part of that, since we get so many questions. I end up getting so many questions about that anyway. It's just easier to have that actually stated on the page. And then, there was just eliminating a single rider fee, and I just wrote that that was, I think, a policy that really never comes into play and really does usually causes confusion at the beginning of the year, people thinking that we're going to be charging extra when you're riding by yourself, when that's not really what that fee was designed
I think
for.
including 2019 and 2020 together was really helpful.
Yeah.
So that we can make that comparison.
Right. And just like I said, kind of having the notes there of what those proposed changes are, but there's no changes to any actual fees.
Well, there's one substantive change, and that's in paragraph number 1 of your proposed changes. The change note for memberships, okay? You weren't here when that was last discussed and then when that was implemented.
Okay.
And I want to tell you the reason why, and you tell me why we don't need it anymore.
Sure.
Okay? The reason why we capped the number of memberships is that the members out there are out there with unlimited play. Mm-hmm. And there's really a couple of things you take a look at on a golf course. You take a look at the price per round, but you also take a look at the number of rounds, because
Right.
the more the number of rounds, the more the difficulty is to keeping the greens green and
Sure.
the divots out of the fairways and all that sort of good stuff. It's the usage of the course
Yeah.
that we were also concerned about. Now,
Right.
Were we ever coming up to that limitation?
That's sort of why I was proposing to take that off. Since I've been here and looking back through recent years, we're not approaching those numbers. And so I can understand where, probably when that was instituted, and I'm not sure what, if it was maybe when Ken first came on 14, 15 years ago, there may have been some concern as to too much play. But I would say that that's not the case right now, and so I felt that it didn't need to necessarily put a limit on those memberships.
Well, the other way that we can discourage additional play is with the pricing. These, for instance, a single adult at $8.50, it's unlimited play. They go out there, play once, twice a day. Who knows?
Right.
If we bumped it up to $1,000, then they might say, well, I'm going to go down to the past membership category, and we get rid of some of the full memberships. I'm not interested in changing now. That's my personal opinion. But I want you to monitor that.
Okay.
And kind of give us a thought next year as whether or not, number one, we ought to put the limitation back in because it's being abused.
Right.
Or number two, the price of the membership ought to increase so it dissuades them from being an unlimited member. You understand
Right.
what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. I would say, like I said, we're, right now at least, not on unlimited memberships, not approaching the numbers that were there, the 70 and the 30. I would say it's not really being abused in any substantive way by anybody at this point. Most people who are full members tend to be those who walk primarily. And so, people who are walking obviously do less damage to the golf course to begin with because you're not in a golf cart. So those
And
would
that
be
decreases our income because they're not using a golf cart too. Yeah.
True. Yeah, those are usually the folks who are full members. Not always, but primarily in my experience.
Do you keep track of the number of rounds of full members also?
Yes. Yeah.
You
I mean,
do.
that's something that I could easily procure for you.
Yeah, I think that'd be interesting to see next year. Mm-hmm. Any questions to Kyler?
No.
Okay, we have before us his proposal to change the fee structure from 2019 to 2020. I'll make a motion to approve that new fee structure. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Abby, please call the roll.
Mr. Cappers,
Yes?
Mr. Emmerich,
Yes.
Mrs. Westphal. Yes.
She shook her head yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Titterington, did you have anything to come before the Park Commission today, sir? Mrs. Knight, Mr. Kegley, do either one of you two have anything? Okay. We'll need to move into executive session for the review of employees. Okay, and I'll make that motion. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Kyler? I move that we come out of executive session.
I'll second that.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Now, after being out of executive session, I move to adjourn.
Second that.
Second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.